When you think about a Godzilla movie, you think about two huge monsters in the middle of the city, destroying buildings, stepping on cars, people screaming and running for their life. But then you see Godzilla 2014 and you wonder what happened to this. You wonder if they thought that people don't want to see these things, because it is a Godzilla movie, and I guarantee you that everyone out there who likes Godzilla wants to see these things, and they were more than likely disappointed. Now, to be honest with you, there were some things that I think this movie did good. Two things, most importantly. One being the special effects. They were amazing. The fights were great. I really love the special effects. What little bit of fighting we do see, what little bit of action and monsters we see in this movie, I think they did an amazing job on that. The second thing is they try to make it feel like it was a down-to-earth movie, like this could happen in the real world. They did a great job of that as well, but you know what? I don't care if they make it realistic and they make it seem down to earth like it could happen in the real world. I don't care. I just came to see this for the things that I said earlier, for just stuff getting messed up and blown up and people getting stepped on. I wanted to see that, and it's not like I just like mindless action with no story. I like good stories, but you don't really get a good story with this either. The majority of the story here in the first 30 minutes, now going into this, I was surprised and delighted to see that Bryan Cranston was in this movie. He is a great actor, and I went into this completely blind. I don't know how I did it, but I didn't see any pictures of Godzilla or any of the other monsters in this movie. Yes, there are other monsters. Two of them, actually, and I really think they did a great job with that, but I didn't see any of the other monsters. I didn't see what Godzilla looked like. I didn't see any trailers. I didn't see anything for this. It was a blind experience, just spur-of-the-moment thing. I went in, and I was surprised to see Bryan Cranston because he's a good actor, and I was looking forward to seeing him being in the whole movie, but then he doesn't really go throughout the whole movie. I'm not going to say what happens or anything, but he's only there for about the first 30 minutes, and the first 30 minutes of this movie is just boring exposition. There were a few things in the beginning of this movie in the first 30 minutes that I did find interesting, such as them digging underground and finding this massive skeleton of one of the older monsters and then finding one of the eggs and feeding that radiation. I felt that was interesting, but I felt that it also took a lot longer than it should have, and also I did enjoy the acting of Bryan Cranston, but I really felt that they were trying to use him to sell the movie in some of the trailers that I saw after the fact, and then also the way that the movie was building up, but then the main character switches to his son, and his son's a pretty bland and boring character. So the basic story from here on out is they're trying to take this nuclear warhead from this insecure area where they can't detonate it because there's life around, and they're taking it out into the ocean so they can detonate it there, but they're trying to use a really slow train to outrun the monsters. One of them can fly, one of them can barrel through the ground, and the other one is Godzilla. There's no chance of them outrunning them, and also they eat radiation and become stronger, so their only hope of killing them is by detonating this bomb, and they can't even do that because they like to eat this stuff, and there's no way that they can outrun them, and it's a really bad plot, I think, because they're trying to kill them in ways. Of course, they're very strong monsters, and that's really the powerfulest weapon that we have, but if you're gonna go as far as making this science fiction movie like this, you could at least make science fiction weapons to fight against them if they're gonna try and do that. So moving on from the problems that I have with the plot and also how boring the main character is, talking about the fights and the special effects, everything that everybody went to this movie wanting to see. The special effects were amazing, the fights were done great, but they cut away from so many fights. You'll see the beginning of the fight and then it clips over to this new scene, and you really feel like it's a big tease that way, and a lot of the fights happen in the background. The majority of the time you're looking at some of the fights over somebody's shoulder as they're like up against the wall, they're hiding, or they're waiting for the danger to pass so that they can pass through and get to the other side of the road or the other side of town or whatever, and you're really experiencing this in the third person, basically, instead of just having this camera in the sky watching the battles go on. I really feel like it is realistic the way that they do that, but that's not the way that I want to see it, and a lot of other people are disappointed about that as well, so I'm not the only one. There was actually one scene in the fights here that was my favorite scene out of the entire movie, which was where Godzilla defeats the first monster. Now, that's not really that big of a spoiler because you expect that to happen anyways. It's not really that big of a deal. It's Godzilla. You know he's gonna kill them. But the way that they do this, the way that this scene plays out, it really raised the hair on my arms and on my neck, and I felt that it was really exciting. Not going to tell you what happens because then it'll kind of ruin the best moment out of the entire movie for you, and I'm not going to do that. So I really think that if they could take this 125-minute long movie and shave it down by half, if this movie was 45 minutes long, an hour long, or 90 minutes long, they could have cut out so much on this and just had the fights. They didn't need to hire popular actors for this. They could have just had random people. They don't even need actors. They could have used extras and just have to be stepped on, and it would have been a better movie because the fights here were great, but they're only like 30% of the movie as a whole, and it's a long movie, so you're not really getting that much fights out of it. So my overall thoughts on the Godzilla movie from 2014 is that they're on the right track with this. Believe it or not, I think they're on the right track. Having multiple monsters, having them fighting each other, having Godzilla's special attack here, just having the city destroyed and having these amazing fights. They're on the right track with that. But you need to cut back on the length of the movie. You need to cut back on how many actors you use. You need to cut back on the popular actors. It's not really that big of a deal to have a great story with the Godzilla movie because people just watch this to have the great fights. Just leave it at that and make a movie where it's just these amazing fights and no trying to make it believable. You don't have to try and sell this. People know that there's not these giant monsters roaming the earth and you don't have to explain it that way. So just have a fight in a previous movie. Just be one big fight and see how it sells. You don't even have to make it 2 hours long. Just make it like 1 hour long. I'm sure it'll sell much better than this, and I really think that that would be an overall improvement, and that's the way that this series should go if they do decide to continue making Godzilla movies. So if you saw the Godzilla movie, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments section below. Maybe your opinion on it differs from mine. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.